Hello, Mind Bloomers. This is Mind Bloom, the safe space at the intersection of mental health advocacy and breast cancer awareness. Mind Bloom is your podcast. Subscribe to hear more on female entrepreneurship and the juggling of family life, career goals, and romantic relationships. Not an easy task, especially if your physical and mental health need a big hug right now. Hello, Mind Bloomers. This is Marina G, your host, and welcome to Mind Bloom, the podcast for all things mental health and breast cancer awareness. Before we dive into this week's episode, let me just say that Mind Bloom, the podcast, and the content at Mind Bloom U across all platforms is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. You should always contact your providers for medical counsel. Never disregard any medical treatment or delay seeking professional help because of any content authored or distributed by Mind Bloom. Hi guys, another Tuesday, another episode. This is episode 19 of Mind Bloom, and in October the episodes are going to grow a little bit faster because I'm doing 2 episodes a week. Remember to celebrate October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This week is no exception, and we have 2 interviews, 2 episodes coming out. So today's episode and Thursday's episode. I will tell you a little bit more about these 2 interviews and these 2 episodes, but before we do, let me just celebrate with you really quickly here that I finally hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. Yay! That happened today, Monday, October 12th. Let that be written in the annals of history of Mind Bloom that we hit 1,000 followers. If that is you, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, my followers. I love you all. I expect to see you forever and ever and meet you here every Tuesday and in this month of October, every Thursday as well. I am so excited with the growth and with the reception of Mind Bloom. All in all, between the 2 episodes on any podcast platform and the YouTube episodes that I release weekly as well, I have about 200 listens a week, which is tremendous, guys. We are not playing games here at Mind Bloom. This is a team of fierce ladies, my dog Bianca, myself, and my communications manager. We are not kidding, and we're going to take the world by storm. 1 episode at a time, 1 mental health issue, and 1 type of breast cancer at a time. You just wait and see. Speaking of Instagram and the month of October, I want to remind you that every Monday I post on mental health and breast cancer and the relationship of the 2. And on Wednesday, I post on life after breast cancer. Today is Monday, so I posted on the correlation between adverse childhood experiences, or ACE, and psychological symptoms in women diagnosed with breast cancer. I found this peer-reviewed paper on a medical online journal, and I thought I just had to share it with you. Basically, we all know that a diagnosis of cancer, whichever cancer it is, has a huge impact on the receiver of that diagnosis, and breast cancer is no exception. But this essay, this paper, was particularly interesting to me in the sense that it established a relationship between those symptoms or the preeminence of those psychological symptoms and behaviors, which could go from intrusive thoughts, nightmares, insomnia, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. So the prevalence of these behaviors and psychological symptoms on women with a diagnosis of breast cancer, and this is post-treatment and post-surgery. So a breast cancer patient will most likely experience something similar, if not exactly what it is, post-traumatic stress syndrome. But in the cases of women who had endured in their childhood adverse circumstances, these psychological behaviors and these conditions last longer and are more prevalent, and will also lead to poorer outcomes or a higher mortality rate, recurrence rate, or metastases, really. So cellular growth and aging. And I thought that this was so interesting. I don't think it's earth-shattering. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there is a relationship between trauma, in this case, childhood trauma, but just, distress, trauma, mental illness, really, and cancer. The consequences of living with chronic stress, of the release of the hormone cortisol, the inflammatory process in the cells, the aging, the faster aging process of the cells, and a poor, insufficient immune system. So all of this can be accounted for. I'm not saying it's the cause, and I hope I'm not blaming anyone or making anyone feel guilty about this, that they didn't do enough, that they did not respond well enough to complications from stressors in life. And also, I would like to stress that these factors, these early childhood traumatic incidences, do not account for, at least not in this article, in this peer-reviewed paper, they do not account for incidence of breast cancer. So they're not saying that you've experienced traumatic occurrences in your childhood, you are bound more than others to be diagnosed with breast cancer. That's not what they're saying. They're saying that people diagnosed and post-treatment will present for longer with the negative psychological effects of chronic stress and or post-traumatic stress disorder. And this can be interesting in a world where we're trying to make sense of all of these things. Why me? Why did I have to have a biopsy? Why did I have to find a lump? Why did I have to be in the shower and found a lump in my breast? And what this article is saying is that you have been exposed to many contrary events in your life, in your past, and you are now having to deal with yet this other stressor, a diagnosis of breast cancer. Therefore, you may be ill-equipped to face or control or manage this situation. And this may lead to weaker defenses and just a weaker ability to control the controllables of your diagnosis and of your life. Maybe control your sleep, the way you sleep. Maybe control your food intake. Maybe control the exercise you do. In the face of a cancer diagnosis, these are important things to control, and you can. But if you've been exposed to extreme adversity, if you've been exposed to trauma, parental negligence, substance abuse in the family, the incarceration of a relative, and emotional, physical, sexual abuse, and domestic abuse or mental illness in the family, in the household, then a diagnosis of breast cancer is just going to be the culmination of, in all likelihood, a lifetime living with anxiety and depression and intrusive thoughts, attachment issues, or fear of abandonment, you name it. So I thought this was very interesting. I don't want to get into details, not today, about my own childhood, but I could certainly relate. And the conclusions in the study definitely rang true to me in many, many ways. So I just wanted to say that, every Monday of this month, at least, I'll be posting and bringing on more content about breast cancer and different mental obstacles that breast cancer patients have had to encounter in the past or are bound to encounter in the future. For instance, fear of recurrence. There's so many things we could address and we could talk about. And it's not just for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's all year round. Both mental health and advocacy for breast cancer healthcare are here at Mindbloom extremely important every single day of the year. So this was just a little something I wanted to share with you. I just wanted to say that being the host of Mindbloom and being the content creator for everything, all things Mindbloom has taught me so much so far. I have to read scientific journals and medical journals and peer-reviewed articles, which is something I already did in the past for my own doctorate. But in this case, they're about cancer and mental health and racial disparities in healthcare in Europe and in North America. So I'm so thankful. This is just so great. It's not just great, it's challenging, it's rewarding, it's tiring. It's ultimately a path like none other I've experienced. I'm surrounded by my favorite things in the world. Knowledge, literature on various topics, amazing books, amazing people to speak with. So a big yay to my mental health community, my breast cancer community, my breasties, all my followers, all my 1,000 followers and counting, and all my friends and followers on Twitter as well. And I am so appreciative of all of you, and Mindbloom is yours as much as it is mine. And Bianca is here just also trying to assert herself. So yes, Mindbloom is Bianca's as well. This week, like I said, we have 2 interviews, and today's interview is with Elle Veitch. She is a 29-year-old who was diagnosed 2 years ago with DCIS, a form of non-invasive breast cancer, ductal carcinoma in situ. That's what the acronym reads. And her type was so aggressive, it was just about to become invasive, and it showed necrosis. And she, at some point, will say that the aggression of the cancer was such that cancer cells were destroying each other to make room for more cancer cells, more aggressive ones. So it's unbelievable. Elle will tell you more about her role as an ambassador for the National Breast Cancer Foundation of Australia. She is also working on a book. She will tell you more about that. And she prepares these little packages for women who had just undergone a mastectomy. And it's such a beautiful, wonderful idea. Elle prepares these care packs with things that go from drain pouches to deodorant and moisturizer for sensitive skins after radiation, and just little pampering goods like face masks or lollipops. Just a little feel-good care pack for whoever just experienced a traumatic experience, a mutilation experience in the face of breast cancer, such as a mastectomy, a single mastectomy or a double mastectomy. So because Elle was diagnosed at 27, we are going to be talking about early breast cancer or breast cancer before 40, not only today, but also on Thursday when we speak with Aviva. Aviva is herself an advocate and a loud voice for raising awareness for young breast cancer. In our conversation, Elle Veitch and I will be talking so much about self-advocacy, what you need to do to express your will, to tell the doctors what it is you feel is going wrong in your body and how that needs to be tackled, even if they dismiss you and say, you're 27, there's no way you could have a breast cancer diagnosis. We're also going to be talking about how a diagnosis of non-invasive breast cancer can lead to imposter syndrome and just feeling that, this cancer is just not enough in the spectrum of breast cancer, and therefore I don't really know what to do with this. And turns out that that's just second guessing and self-doubt talking. It's our inner critical voice, because in the case of Elle, she had a tumor found in her breast that was almost 12 centimeters long. 12 centimeters long, and no doctor nor Elle could find a lump. So at all times, be aware of what your body is telling you. Maybe it's pain in the rib or a lingering pain under the arm. And remember, you may never feel a lump, or you may feel lumps everywhere like I do, and they just 99% of the times they turn out to be benign. Or you may never feel pain, or you may feel a lot of pain in one of your breasts. You may never see that inverted nipple. There's no recipe book, and there's no one size fits all in terms of symptoms, in terms of experience, in terms of how the cells in your body are transforming and growing and turning into a cancerous tumor. So I think the message that these women are leaving here on Mind Bloom, and I agree 100%, is self-advocate. Tap into what's going on in your body. Only you know, and it is trying to tell you something. If one doctor will not have you do an ultrasound or a mammogram, go find another doctor. Early detection is key, and monitoring is key, and paying attention to what your mind is telling you is key as well. So stay tuned for my conversation with Elle Veitch. She can be found on Instagram at Breasties for Life. It's right after this. Guys, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Turns out it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. It will also distribute your podcast for you so that everyone can listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcast and many, many more. And guess what? You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Ridiculous, the disparity, the confusion that goes around the medical community.
Oh, absolutely. I think when I first found it, I was first diagnosed and told I would only need a lumpectomy. And I thought, great, because I was absolutely terrified of losing my breasts. And then 2 days later, I had my surgeon's appointment, and he said, I think you need to have the double mastectomy, and pretty much said, you're crazy if you don't, with the chances of it either coming back in the breast that I already had cancer or coming into the other breast at some point and turning into stage 2 cancer, which at that point it wasn't. And I refused at the time. And then when I went away and had to think about it, and I spoke to genetic counsellors and my family, and we were coming home one day and Mum said to me, Elle, it's your breasts or your life. And my family is my number one priority at all times. So I thought it was like the ultimate sacrifice in a way, but I knew I had to do it. And I've heard of women who have asked for double mastectomies when their surgeon has suggested a single mastectomy, and they refused a double mastectomy. And that just, I don't understand that. It's their body. They should be able to make that decision for themselves.
Oh, we can talk forever about denial from the surgeons.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm actually also, she's going to be on Mind Bloom soon. Someone I just interviewed about going flat and about flat denial.
They rarely give that as an option. And I know a woman, she's the same age as me, and she's chosen to go flat, but it's crazy that they say, you know, we're going to do this single or double mastectomy and then we'll go straight into reconstruction. And when you think about it more, you think, well, why does this surgeon want to do a reconstruction and convince me to do a reconstruction so quickly? Why not give me the option of going flat? Because some women do want to go flat, and that's absolutely fine. And I applaud them for making that choice for their own body.
Why is that? Why do you think? Of course, we don't know the answer, but...
Honestly, I've thought about it a lot, and I think it's a lot about the way that society thinks women need to look. So if you don't have 2 lumps on your chest, are you a woman?
Yeah.
Or are you seen as feminine? Or and I think that's something that really needs to be changed, because going through breast cancer and a single or double mastectomy is traumatic enough. So being able to have that choice of what you do with your body after should be your choice and your choice only. And I think it's up to society and the breast cancer community and doctors and everyone to start a conversation of, it's just as normal to go flat as it is to have a reconstruction, and there's nothing wrong with going flat. It doesn't make you any less feminine. It means that you have voiced your opinions and that you know what you want to do with your body. So I think, it really is a societal thing, and how we view women, which is, it's pretty sad and frustrating when you think about it.
These are all such interesting conversations. The spectrum is so wide.
Absolutely.
We were also just talking, each cancer is a cancer. Each body composition is its own. It's unbelievable how many, experiences and how we face trauma also matters so much, and what our mental health is telling us to do. Before we progress, let me just introduce you to the audience, because we started talking and then I hit record, and I'm glad I did, because you went straight into it, and I was like, yes, we are not losing this.
Yes.
But Mind Bloomers, this is Elle.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for being on. And I'm sure we're going to have the most engaging conversation. We spoke a few weeks ago, and we've been in touch on Instagram ever since we ran into each other, which was, I think, over a post of yours about LCIS and DCIS.
Yes.
I have the former, you have the latter, you had, hopefully. And me too, I guess they remove it, whatever.
Yeah.
You never really know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we've been good Instagram chumps.
Yes. Nice friendship to have.
Nice, beautiful friendship. Yeah. So Elle, before we get into the nitty gritty, tell us, what makes your mind bloom?
Oh, what makes my mind bloom? I think finding ways to empower other women and starting conversations, and important conversations that are maybe brushed under the rug sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that really makes my mind bloom. Learning from other women helps me to learn about myself, and talking about important things, definitely. Yeah.
And we could be here all day talking about your advocacy and what you do, not only for your own good and for your own sanity in terms of mental health as well, but in terms of the breast cancer story that you have and had, and I don't know, I guess it stays with us forever.
Yeah, definitely.
And in terms of helping others, I mean, I guess we can just go into that from the little bags, and I want you to tell me all about that, from the bags that you prepare, that you then give to women who just came out of a mastectomy. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when I had my double mastectomy, I came out and I was feeling I didn't know anyone in the breast cancer community at that point. I thought I was all alone, and I just wanted to feel special and know that someone was thinking of me. So a few months ago, I decided to put some care packs together for women who have just had surgery or are having treatment, so radiotherapy, chemo, anything like that. And I thought, what did I want or need at that time, or what has helped me since then? And I also spoke to other women about what has helped you, or, what ideas do you have for me to, so I engaged as much as I could. And I ended up putting together 20 care packs, and I delivered them on Monday. And it was just such a special experience giving them to my breast care nurse and knowing that they would be going to women who were going through a really hard time and just needed someone to know, even if it's a stranger, that you're not alone and you're being thought of, and there's support out there for you when you're ready for it.
I saw those packages and your photos on Instagram. They were sewn, right?
Yes.
Specifically for that, with beautiful fabric. The fabric is stunning.
Yeah,
and
my
then
sister put together 40 drain bags, because as many women will know, when you have a single or double mastectomy, you will have drains. And the ones that I got when I was in hospital were nothing too flush. And even that, I think, because you have to carry them around for I had mine for 2 weeks, and they're with you constantly, just having something nice like that, I think, makes such a difference. So my sister did 40 of those, which was amazing. And it's just little things like that, I think, that make a massive difference.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they do.
Yeah, the drains aspect is something no one really prepares you for.
Oh, no, they're not fun. Not fun at all.
I bet, yeah. So what's in the packages?
So there was a bit of everything. I had some donations from some amazing businesses in Australia, small businesses. So I had headbands and earrings donated. And then I had Mugu donated 20 oncology care packs, which had deodorant, moisturizer, all of these creams and stuff that you can use when you're going through radiation and you have a lot of skin sensitivity. A lovely friend of mine donated 20 blocks of chocolate. Then we had candles donated, and then the rest of the stuff I purchased myself. So I found that having a journal has been a massive help for me, because sometimes you can't talk to people, and just being able to write things down can make such a difference to your mental health. So journals, pens, we had eye masks so that you can sleep when you're in hospital, face masks just for a bit of pampering, nail polish. I'm trying to think of the drain bags. There was quite a bit of stuff in there, just a little bit of everything.
A little pampering, a little bit of
take
love
care of yourself, kind of.
Remembrance, because those are
I think you
times.
Forget that you're an important woman, an important person after you've had a double mastectomy. You feel a little bit like, well, Who am I? I know I felt like I didn't deserve to take care of myself. And I'm sure there are many other women that feel that way. And I just want them to know that they do deserve to take care of themselves, and they should be taking care of themselves, and not just putting a face mask on, but doing things like writing in a journal and taking time for your mental health and time to rest and just let yourself be and go through it. Trying not to avoid any of what you're feeling, but still taking time for yourself.
Yeah. It's so important. I was just talking as well with someone else about the lack of support, emotional support, especially after surgery. Not so much, because once you get in the train wreck of cancer, it's a nonstop. You're going to have surgery soon, and then you go through treatment. And people, I guess, tend to forget that once that train stops, you're just left to your own resources.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's usually when depression kicks in.
Yes. No, I've found even from the time I was diagnosed, I had to seek out my own mental health support. And it is true, once you've had surgery or your treatment's over, you're kind of just standing there alone on this deserted island going, well, what do I do now? And you're left to pick up all the pieces. And I think part of your breast cancer diagnosis, there should be a counsellor or a psychologist or some kind of mental health support offered to you, not only when you're first diagnosed, but ongoing way after. Because at the moment, there's only really support groups, and those are amazing and they're a wonderful resource, but they can only provide so much support. Sometimes you need that extra professional support, and having to seek it out yourself can sometimes be really, really scary. Asking for help can be really scary, saying there's something wrong, I'm not feeling right. So having that offered to you, because surely health professionals know what a traumatic time it is. So having that offered to you instead of having to ask, I think sometimes would make a huge difference to how women cope with their experience.
Because no one can relate to that unless you've been through it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your husband is not going to, your children, your neighbor.
No. As much as they want to and as hard as they try, it's just something that unless you've been through it, you have no idea how incredibly painful it is emotionally as well as physically. But I think, people talk about how you have surgery and all of that heals and you still have the scars, but you're not in pain. But that emotional pain, that sticks around for a really long time, and that's what needs to be focused on.
Yeah. And we will talk more about that emotional pain, because I know you feel it still. And maybe so much part of your outreach and advocacy work has to do with mitigating this pain as well. As you give and as you interact with your community, you're forgetting a little bit maybe you're under stress.
Yes. I've definitely spoken to women who are just now realizing now that all their surgeries and everything are over, and they've had to go back for maybe like a small procedure or something, that there may be signs of post-traumatic stress disorder there that they didn't acknowledge before. And it really honestly scares me to think about how many women would be out there with post-traumatic stress disorder from their breast cancer diagnosis and everything that comes with it, but they don't realise that they have post-traumatic stress disorder because no one's saying that. Most of the time you think post-traumatic stress disorder comes with someone who has been to war or has been physically harmed, or, it's not spoken about that an illness or a diagnosis of cancer can bring on a post-traumatic stress disorder diagnosis. And I think if more women knew about that, more women can get the help, the specific help that they need. Yeah.
And since we're talking about your outreach work, tell us as well of the position you've just taken on of ambassador, and also of the book you're writing.
Yes.
And you're compiling.
Yes. So I've just been taken on the role of ambassador for the National Breast Cancer Foundation here in Australia. I did a fundraiser for them earlier this year, and so I don't know how, it still blows my mind, raised $16,500 for research into early detection and better treatment options for breast cancer. So I'm going to be working very closely with them now, which is really exciting because the more people I can reach, especially to let people know about young women with breast cancer, I think I hope it's going to make a massive impact, and people are going to start to listen to the women going through it. And then as far as the book goes, it's called Hey Cancer FU. And it is going to be filled with open letters from women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, and they will be writing a letter to their breast cancer, letting them know how they really feel about it. So this idea came about because I had joined a support group, and I was noticing a lot of posts about I can't talk to my husband, or I can't talk to my friends or my family because it makes them uncomfortable when I talk about my breast cancer. And you are taught or pressured sometimes into giving this just be positive, smile through the pain, everything will be fine kind of attitude. And it's not always fine. And there are lots of things that women need to say. And I think that their voice gets taken away from them when they're diagnosed with breast cancer for the sake of other people's feelings. And I just thought, no, this is not good enough. Women need to be able to say how they're feeling and express what they're going through. And I love to write, and I've found the best way to express myself sometimes is to write it down. So I thought maybe that's a way that I can ease women into starting to find their voice. So so far I almost have, I think, 40 letters. And I've had a lot of women say that it's been a really difficult experience, but it's been cathartic for them. And to know that it's helped them in some tiny way, that's what I'm trying to do. And I hope that from this that they can then start to feel, well, no, I have the right to be able to say how I feel and talk about my experience. And if it makes people uncomfortable, well, bad luck, really, because sometimes the only way we can learn and empathize and understand is to sit in uncomfortable emotions and to learn about people's lived experiences. So, yeah, the most exciting part about it is that I do have so many heartfelt, vulnerable, emotive letters. And then I will also have my story in there. I will have information about breast cancer under 40, how to do a breast check, and other little bits and bobs. But I really want the main focus to be on all of these amazing women that have contributed to the book. So that will be available next year, and I'll be doing it as part of a fundraiser for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. And every single cent that is made from the books will be going straight to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. We need to get as much research done as possible, even if it is here in Australia. I've had women from all over the world contribute letters, but even if the research is being done here in Australia, it is going to positively impact women all over the world, hopefully at some point. So we're all kind of working together to get to that point, I think.
Yes, we were talking about breast cancer under 40, and people, because this is a podcast, they may not be seeing your image. It's you. How old were you when you were diagnosed?
So I was 27 when I was diagnosed. It came as a massive shock because my auntie, she had breast cancer when she was 41, and she has 2 daughters. And so I was aware of the breast cancer in our family, as well as I have 2 maternal great aunts that had breast cancer. So I was aware of the family history, but I thought, well, if it's not my mum that had breast cancer, I'll be fine. And I also don't need to worry about it until I start getting mammograms when I'm 40.
Yeah.
And that was very, very naive of me to think that. But you're not taught anything else. So honestly, it's just lucky that I went to get the symptoms that I was having checked. I actually wasn't going to ask about it because I do also have a autoimmune brain disease, and I was told so many times by doctors, you're making it up, you're making yourself do this. I was dismissed, and I think a lot of it does have to do with my age and the fact that I'm a woman. And I've had that from many other women that I've had conversations with. So I wasn't actually going to bring these symptoms up. And it was when I went to get a contraceptive injection one day, and my poor nurse, I just blurted out all of these symptoms, and she got my doctor to come and check. He couldn't find a lump. And then after I went to get a mammogram and ultrasound that same day, the next day I got a call saying there was abnormalities. And then after one failed biopsy and then a stereotactic biopsy, I was diagnosed with high-grade DCIS with necrosis. So basically that's the most aggressive form. My cancer was growing so quickly that it was dying to make room for new cancer cells. Yeah. And between my lumpectomy and my double mastectomy, I had almost 11 centimetres of cancer removed from my left breast. And I've been told multiple times by doctors they don't know how they didn't feel a lump, and they don't know how it hadn't become invasive. So I still honestly can't get my head around it, the fact that I was diagnosed with breast cancer and what a large tumour I had. But then also, I know we've spoken about this before, the other things that come with being diagnosed with DCIS and being told that you don't have cancer.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a, you still are getting dismissed. And after everything I had already been through, I just thought, no, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to be dismissed anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's basically where things started on my Instagram page and how we met.
DCIS is, for the people at home, ductal carcinoma in situ, and it's stage 0, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, I can see where the dismissal of other people and doctors will come from. Oh, it's stage 0. Oh, it's localized. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, no.
I think they're being reassuring, but it's not. It's it's definitely dismissive, and the knowledge that is around DCIS, it seems to me that women in the breast cancer community have more knowledge about DCIS than a lot of doctors that I've met.
Yep.
Which is very interesting. And one thing that I really think is important is that doctors start to listen to women who have been through it a lot more than just reading a textbook, because people are not textbooks. I've not met one woman that has had the same kind of breast cancer, the same kind of treatment.
Yeah.
Your cancer is individual as you are.
Mm-hmm. What symptoms did you have? I just ask this for awareness for other people to
Yes. So I had, for quite a while actually, I had rib pain on the left side, and my doctor thought that I had dislocated my rib, and I went to a chiropractor, And then it just wouldn't go away. And then I started to also develop pain from my underarm down in my breast towards my nipple. And it was like a feeling of fullness and something was blocked, almost like what someone with mastitis would feel. I then started to get inverted nipple. I had discharge from my nipple, and then just before I was diagnosed, my nipple became extremely sensitive and it was almost burning when I touched it. They were my main symptoms. As I said, I didn't have a lump, and the message out there is to look for a lump, but there are so many other symptoms that you have to look for. And a lot of the time you'll hear, well, if you have pain, it's not breast cancer, but that's just not true. So I think anything that's irregular with your breast, go and get it checked. And a lot of the time women under 40 will be told that they can't have a mammogram. They have to go back time after time and say, please, can you give me a mammogram? But you have the right to request that for your own body, for your own peace of mind. So if you feel like something is wrong, you can ask for an ultrasound, you can ask for a mammogram, and do whatever you need to do to find out what is going on with your breasts.
So, I mean, it's very alarming to me. You had these symptoms and you didn't look for a doctor because you were scared you were going to be dismissed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And my GP is amazing, but it's just the fear that I've had in the past of being dismissed that was coming in now saying, no, you're being a hypochondriac. There's nothing wrong with you. You're overreacting. It's just hormones. You're due for your contraceptive injection. Like you think of every possible thing except for, wait a minute, maybe I need to get this checked out. And if women a lot of the time have very good intuition about their bodies, and if you feel like something is wrong, then you should get it checked. It doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And then there's the other cases where there's no symptoms even, or there's no lump, and that happens a lot with lobular, which develops differently, I believe. And it can't be found in mammograms and ultrasounds even. It's very difficult. So it definitely is a world. There's a world out there of ways this can manifest in your body. But it's like you were saying, it's actively engage with your body, actively listen to it.
Yes, sometimes that's the thing. There are other ways than just a mammogram to find cancer. Pardon me. And a lot of the time, if a doctor doesn't want to give you a mammogram, you can ask for an ultrasound or an MRI. And there's actually, I'm not sure about over where you live, but over here there's a 3-step rule that doctors are meant to follow, which I've just recently discovered that they rarely follow. So there's meant to be a breast exam done at the doctor's office. Then following that, a mammogram or ultrasound, and then following that, a core needle biopsy. And that is regardless of what age you are. So those 3 steps should be followed. And I think if women go into a doctor's office with that knowledge, knowing that this is what protocol doctors are meant to be following, they can advocate for themselves a lot better.
Yeah, and know that if you are called to do a biopsy, it can be nothing. It's okay. I've had the 2 types where it's okay and where it's not okay, but it exists. It's happened to me. It is out there. And it's funny you mentioned that 3-step process, because that's one of the first posts I made on breast cancer on Instagram, because like you, I was I was appalled to realize that not everyone knows, and if you're asked to do a mammogram, and you shouldn't despair, you shouldn't get in a panic.
No.
They just want to check.
Exactly.
And it's good to be checked.
Yeah, it's just surveillance, and it's just another way of making sure sometimes even that everything is okay, and just putting your mind at ease.
Yeah.
Even if you're dismissed by one doctor, go to another doctor and say, this is what's happening. Can you please do this for me?
Yeah, and I cannot stress enough. It does not look at age anymore, unfortunately. It does not look at the skin of your, the color of your skin. It does not look at where you live in the world. No. It's just so
absolutely
pervasive.
Not. Yeah. Well, that does bring up another point, actually, that I have been thinking a lot recently, and a friend of mine who is on Instagram, Jenny O, she is very passionate about advocating for women who may not look like, your typical Caucasian woman who gets probably better access to health resources. And when she brought that up, it made me think a lot about Indigenous Australians over here who are in rural communities, or maybe don't have the money to go and see a doctor, or are maybe dismissed very much just because of the colour of their skin. And I know you talk about this a lot too, and the attention and focus is, you see posters of women, white women that are in their 50s, and that is not what breast cancer is. Yeah. Breast cancer is every single woman in the world that needs to be acknowledged and included and advocated for, really. And there needs to be a lot more work done as far as that goes.
So much. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about mental health.
Yes.
You're a big advocate for that as well, and you're doing so much in that regards. Just your posts, and I always go in there and I read to the commas.
Thank you.
I like everything you say, and it's so heartfelt, and sometimes with a little nudge of anger even, but which I totally feel and understand. And it's like you were saying before, if you don't want to be uncomfortable, then go look somewhere else.
Yes, you don't have to read my post.
Absolutely. So that for me is a sign of mental health, of stability, of strength. It helps me as well in my own whatever it is I'm going through. And and I know your double mastectomy was a complicated procedure, and you can tell us more about that if you feel comfortable, and that you now have to do all this work of picking up the pieces and reconstructing your Elle, the person you'll never be. I don't think we go back to being the person we were before this experience, but you are building this new Elle, which I think
new version of myself,
a new version, which I have to say is totally kick-ass. I love it. You do it. You go for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But tell us more. What are you doing? You mentioned journaling, and what else? What other tips and what other experiences are you having that help you with mental health?
Yeah. So I think there's so many different areas that I find comfort when it comes to my mental health, and things that I'm still learning. So I started off, I have a very supportive family. My mum, dad and sister are amazing. But then, as I said, sometimes there are things you can't say to the people that you love. So journaling is one way that I really found I could find comfort, and I could say whatever I want, and it was just me and that piece of paper and my pen. and I didn't need to worry about anything else, because once I was finished, I would close it, I would put it in my drawer, and I would let it go out of my mind once it was on that piece of paper. After that, I then started to join support groups for women, young women going through breast cancer, and I've made so many amazing friends and connections. I don't think I've ever met women that are more supportive than women going through breast cancer in my whole life. So that is definitely one thing that I would highly suggest anyone who's been newly diagnosed to look for support groups that you feel comfortable in. And then the other thing is absolutely professional support. So I see a psychologist every fortnight, and I see a psychiatrist probably every 6 weeks. And they are doing a lot of talk therapy with me, but I also am on medication just because my mental health was getting to the point where it was looking like I was going to have to be admitted to hospital. I was really, really sick, and there's no shame in taking medication for your mental health if that's what you need. So I use a whole lot of different resources, and I think, as I said, I'm still learning sometimes, because I am trying to get my message out there. I'm on Instagram quite a lot, but I'm having to learn sometimes that I need to switch off from all of that, and that can be really difficult because you feel like you're leaving your followers behind, and I'm constantly thinking about all of them. How is this person going? Maybe I should be checking in with that person. But then I need to think, well, if I'm not feeling good, I can't help anyone else. So, yeah, that's probably been really the most difficult thing, is recognizing that there are ways that I should be taking care of my own mental health aside from the professional help that I've been getting.
It's recognizing your limits.
Exactly, yeah.
My therapist likes to say the 3-legged stool: the talk therapy, medication if needed, and your own self-care, and finding out what it is that makes you feel good. And social media is an outlet for sure. And it's been, I agree with you, it's been beneficial. It's a very strong and tight-knit community, and I was not expecting it at all.
No,
at all.
Not at all. Women are so open, and I've never, like, so many times before I was so shy about my body, and now I'm putting up photos of me just with my arm over what used to be my breasts, and I'm just like, oh, do you want to look at this? Do you want to look at my chest? Like, women are so open and share everything with each other, and there's no boundaries, there's no judgment. We just support and empower and help each other. And I really hope that at some point the empowerment and love and support that we give one another can spill out into the community, and the community can help the breast cancer community as much as we help one another.
Yeah, each other, and inform and teach. And absolutely, it's very informative, but it is also beneficial to understand when to unplug, which can be complicated with Instagram. We both know.
Definitely. When you're used to having your phone at your face, you're just like, something's missing.
Well, and it's true. Like, oh, I don't want to miss this post because it's my friends, and this post, it's my friends, and now I need to DM my friend. And
exactly.
And it's not random strangers. No, these are people that matter to you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, as you do. You are part of my community. You're part of my group of friends, of new friends in this crazy roller coaster ride we're living.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, a roller coaster. That was actually the first thing my auntie said to me, is you're about to go on a roller coaster ride, and I hate roller coasters. So, but it has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride. That's for sure. Yeah.
you are stronger than you think you are, right? That's what they say. And I think that's true of you.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've been showing it.
People need to know that too as well about themselves.
But rest as well and take care of yourself as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The world can wait.
I think too, people think self-care is like, and it can be, putting on a face mask or doing your nails but that's not always what real self-care is. Sometimes it's literally turning off your phone, laying down and reading a book, having a sleep, going and sitting in the sun, just doing things that make you feel good. So there's just a whole range of things you can do for self-care. As long as it's making you feel good, then 100% do it.
Doesn't have to be over the top, doesn't have to be expensive. It can just be in your own home, in your own bedroom. Just unplug or something. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I thank you so much, Elle, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to talk to you.
Yeah, and we will continue to do
yes,
so.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Keep getting that message out there.
And you are too. Together,
yes,
we're doing
absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And that was our episode for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you were able to take away some useful tips and tools to use in your own life. Don't forget to subscribe to Mind Bloom the podcast anywhere you stream your podcasts, and please leave a message on the Anchor FM voicemail if you have any questions or comments for me. Also, please leave a review on the Apple Podcasts app. That would help the podcast reach more people. That would be great. Follow Mind Bloom on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at MindBloomU. And check out my website, mindbloomu.com. Don't forget, a new episode every Tuesday. I look forward to spending time with you again next week. Be well and stay blessed. Bye-bye.